Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session on Europe between solidarity and cooperation. And I'm happy to have with me to discuss this Jan Kralik from the Council of Europe and Gerome Billois from Wavestone. Many thanks to both of you for being here with us this afternoon. Jan, we know that as facts, figures show that cybercrime is on the rise. Can you give us some specific example of the way that electronic evidence is used more and more today, and how international cooperation helps and facilitates the use and collect of electronic evidence?
Thank you very much, firstly, for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. I am Jan Kralik, coming from Council of Europe Cybercrime Division, which is the secretariat to the Cybercrime Convention Committee. And Cybercrime Convention is currently the one and only international treaty specifically focused on cybercrime and electronic evidence. And answering your question, absolutely, I agree that cybercrime is on the rise. Unfortunately, there are many cases we see it, for instance, with respect to ransomware, that is a dominant technique perpetrated by many criminals, and I can provide some examples that are stated also by our parties. For instance, there are lots of cases of hospital being targeted when patients die as a cause that the hospitals cannot provide care to those patients. Or one of our parties, Costa Rica, needed to declare a state of emergency because its critical infrastructure system was targeted. Or hackers were 14 months in the authority system of Albania. So really serious offenses. These offenses are on the rise because what we see are the techniques that are employed currently as a ransomware as a service. So the ransomware is pretty cheap. Some tools are very affordable and can be perpetrated by anyone. Then we have also generative artificial intelligence that can now facilitate a lot of cases. It can correct emails, provide deepfakes, social engineering. So really cybercrime is on the rise now. What is the role of electronic evidence? Well, the Cybercrime Convention Committee adopted a guidance note on the scope of the procedural powers and international cooperation. And in this guidance note, it highlighted the importance of international cooperation because of the fact that perpetrator, evidence, victim may be in different parts of world, in different jurisdiction, and that's why the international cooperation is important. But now we are speaking about cyber-dependent, cyber-enabled crimes, but we have to also mention that also offline crimes such as kidnapping or murder may have electronic evidence element in them. For instance, when a kidnapping takes place, the location data of a suspect may be relevant, and that's why the electronic evidence is very much important, and also international cooperation. And essential role are played by the service provider in this case, because they are in possession and control of electronic evidence.
And very recently, well, not that very recently, but recently, the second additional protocol was added to the convention, to the Budapest Convention. Can you explain maybe the context and the reasons behind this, and what also were the challenges?
Yes, well, the Budapest Convention provides for substantive criminal law provisions that were in a technologically neutral language, procedural powers, and international cooperation provisions. So in 2007, approximately, we have started facing some challenges with respect to cloud computing, where suddenly you didn't know where your data is. They may be in some unknown, foreign, shifting jurisdictions. So the authorities didn't know where to contact their counterparts in which country. So we started discussing whether a second additional protocol would be feasible, or what would be the provisions that could be inserted in the protocol. And as I mentioned, the location of the data was no longer relevant, and what was relevant was who has the possession or control above the data, and those are the service providers. So we provided for specific tools, direct cooperation with service providers in the context of providing subscriber information as a maybe counterpart to already cumbersome mutual legal assistance procedures. So this was perhaps the main target. So there are no substantive criminal law provisions whatsoever, because still the provisions of Budapest Convention on substantive criminal law, since they are technologically neutral worded, may be used, but we have provided for these new procedures. And the protocol was negotiated between 2017, 2021, some 75 states negotiated. We also had great cooperation sessions with other stakeholders, with civil society, data protection experts, and actually the data protection provision is more than 25% of the whole text of the protocol. So the effective measures are supported by these strong safeguards in the protocol.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan. And of course, cooperation extends beyond just cybercrime to other forms of cyber attacks. The EU recently passed the so-called Solidarity Act. In this very context, what does solidarity mean? What's the objective behind that?
The objective is clearly to be able, when there is a large cyber attack, that could lead to the exhaustion of the existing resources, to be able to have additional resources coming from different countries. So it's a very good idea. I think it's an idea that has been discussed for years, and I'm quite happy to see it happens in real. Now it opens a lot of questions as well, because a cyber attack, it's a very complex situation with very different technologies involved, with a lot of different third parties involved, and so there are many things to tackle, to define. I would say that this Solidarity Act, is quite linked to what we already see in the physical world. You have solidarity between countries when there is large storm or when the electrical equipments are down, and so we have people coming from other countries, and we see that works well. And so I think the principle in cyber is very good. Now we have to make it more concrete.
It's about joining forces, really. And one of the provisions of this text is the creation of a reserve, as we have like in defense or the armed forces in very different countries. What's the purpose, and what does it need to work?
The purpose is to have people, knowledgeable people, available when there is a large incident. Now, how to make it concrete, that's the main questions, because, IT, most of the cyber attacks target IT systems. We have very different kind of IT systems, a different brand, different technologies, different way of implementing these technologies, either on site, on premise, or in the cloud, as it was discussed just before. And so, for that reserve to be efficient, there are, for me, two main angles. The first one is we need for the people in the reserve to be able to know exactly what are the skills. Are they more proficient in crisis management, in doing forensics, in doing, reinstallation of Windows system, of Linux system, are they good with ERP? So there is this strong need to know what are the skills, to maintain the skills. And then, on the other side, you also need to, for the company or for the structure that will call for the reserve, also to be able to express the need quite clearly. And I think it's very complex, because when you are in the heart of the crisis, and when you don't have enough people to manage the crisis, it's so complex to say, okay, I need one people to do that, one people to do that, one people to do that. And I think the idea is very good, but we need a lot of different angles and a lot of different questions to be answered for it to be very efficient. And also something we could discuss, the structures, the different organizations that will want to use the reserve need to be very well prepared to be able to onboard the people coming in their perimeter.
Yeah, so it's a good idea, but it's still challenging to effectively put into place. Jan, maybe one last question, a little bit more tricky maybe, but a few years ago now, Russia tabled a proposal at the UN for a convention to fight cybercrime, which of course prompted a few reactions. Can you give us like an insight on what this proposal and this resolution may contain, and what are the risks that it poses?
Yes, well, the Russia proposed a resolution in 2019. It was tabled. It was a contested resolution, but through this resolution, an ad hoc committee was established that discussed the protocol. Russia also made its own proposal, introduced its own convention around 2021, but that somehow seem like going into targeting information communication technologies, and there was a great risk that it was be like a control of internet and some redesign of internet governance. But from that proposal we moved more towards other conventions, also including Budapest Convention and other two conventions adopted within the United Nations, UNTOG and UNCAC. So now the proposal contains many of the provisions that come from the Budapest Convention, which is also a great validation of the Budapest Convention, but still there are some risks that persists. When we compare the convention or the draft convention that is still being negotiated, because the resumed 7th session will took probably place in some months if approved by the General Assembly, but the negotiations are still ongoing and there are still some risks with respect to deciding whether safeguards provision would be part of the convention, and we know that such a provision is in the Budapest Convention, so it also has strong value. So maybe just one last point, what is in the convention, what is in the draft convention, and what is in the Budapest Convention. The draft convention doesn't, for instance, contain the enhanced cooperation provisions of the second additional protocol to the Budapest Convention. So in that sphere is not that much targeted, I would say. It also doesn't have 20 years experience as the Budapest Convention framework with the monitoring, of course, with the capacity building, because we have also our cybercrime program office established in 2014 in Bucharest, and it works with many states, and it was also a maybe reason why so many countries requested accession to the Budapest Convention. And currently the Budapest Convention has 70 state parties and 21 countries that requested accession, and it was also during the negotiations of the UN Convention. So this is really a strong validation of the Budapest Convention now.
Many thanks, Jan. I think that's a way to say as well that cooperation is still a challenging game, a winning but challenging game. Many thanks, Gerome and Jan, for having been with us this afternoon. Many thanks, and I hope you keep us posted on these very different topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you.